All good, sir? To my clap, do. Rolling, sir? Rolling, sir? Rolling.
Hello, I have the privilege of having acclaimed Iranian filmmaker Majid Majidi here at Hindustan Times. Mr. Majidi, whose film Children of Heaven made headlines worldwide, has chosen India as the backdrop for his next film. And he is here with us today with the cast of the film, Debutante Ishaan Khattar and actor Malavika Mohanan. The film, Beyond the Clouds, is a story of human emotions which is set in Bombay, now called Mumbai. And since Mr. Majidi speaks Persian, we have a translator who's going to take us through his answers. Welcome, sir, and what an absolute privilege to have you here in Hindustan Times. What an absolute privilege to have you here in India. My first question to you is, one had heard that you would make a film set in India many years back, and then that didn't happen. How did you choose India as the backdrop for Beyond the Clouds? How did this come about, and at this time?
First of all, hi to you and to your audience. I'm very happy to have this chance to share my vision with you. Since years, I was thinking if I'm going to shoot a film out of Iran, it would be India, for our common cultural aspects. And on the other hand, from years back, I was in love with the cinema of Satyajit Ray. So now I'm very happy that I had this chance to make it happen.
Thank you so much. Ishaan, the next question comes to you. A debut like this, with a filmmaker of his stature, who's internationally acclaimed, has done such great work, has the feeling sunk in that you are working in your first film is a Majid Majidi film?
Well, when you define it like that, I guess I would say it's not entirely sunk in, because a very large part of making the film, the release and reactions from the audience and is yet to come. So I would say it's not entirely sunk in, but I think the feeling of the film and the experience of having worked with him and the value that it holds to me is very well defined. So that is the bit that has completely sunk itself within me. Yeah.
Malavika, for you, it's not your first film. You've worked before and in good films. There was a very strong buzz for the longest time that there were established actresses who were being considered for this role. So my question to you is in two parts. First, how did you land the role? We want to hear that story briefly. The other being that, do you as an actress who's been around now for I think 3 years or 4 years in the film industry, if I'm not wrong, or around that time, is it a kind of pressure to think that you are now taken up a role that maybe somebody far more experienced was initially being considered to do? Does that kind of bring on any pressure?
Oh, well, I think when it comes to casting, Majidi sir is, it's his perspective, how he looked at, it's not my question to answer in terms of what his internal process was for casting me. But I do want to say that I'm really happy I got the opportunity to work with him, because I have been a fan of his work, and I love the kind of cinema he makes. It's very real. There's a certain simplicity to it. It always leaves me with a very good feeling, most of his films. And I like that. I like that about his work. So I was very excited to get the chance to work with him, to get the chance to, initially, I wasn't given a script. I mean, I was told a one line, and I thought it sounded like a splendid story. It sounded like an absolutely amazing character to play. And the script, of course, when it was given to me much later, I loved the story. I loved everything about the film, from the team to the cast and crew involved, everyone. So I was just really hoping that, he likes me and he casts me, because I wanted to work with him. And I'm really grateful that, he did that, and here we are.
Wonderful. We'll come back to some of the learnings that you may have had on set. We'll come back to that question. But first, Mr. Majidi, I want to ask you, there is, of course, a language barrier in terms of the fact that you speak another language, which is not Hindi or English. And these are young actors. They've just started out. They're not veterans. Was it at any point difficult to express your thoughts as a director to them, in the sense that, Was it difficult to convey how you wanted them to enact a scene?
خب به هر حال زبان عنصر خیلی مهمیه توی
Language is a real important element, but the language of cinema is a visual language. And we could have this connection very fast between us. You know, I always say casting and selection is very important. When you cast in the proper way, it means that you have gone the halfway. Casting these two talented person, because with my experience, I saw the talent in them, so I did the half the way. And after that, we could talk about the things which was very easily, and since they could get everything very fast and quickly, I can say that we didn't have this language problem. And on the other hand, I selected all the members of my crew from India to, convey all the emotions and all those, things that I was thinking through them, because they were local people who could help me in this way.
اون حسایی که من میخوام از حس در واقع بمبئی و هند بگیرم.
You know, Mr. Majidi, when you were answering the question, I couldn't understand what you were saying, but your body language told me that you were saying some really kind words about these two, and I'm sure they deserve it in every part. And thanks for all the good words for all of us in India also, your Indian crew. And I want to now come back to Ishaan. Ishaan, you come from a family of actors. The immediate question that comes to me is, when you landed this role, or during the audition, or during when you were on set, inputs coming in terms of what to do, how to get it right, anything from Shahid, anything from Nilima, anything from Pankaj?
Well, I'm most close to my mother, and we discuss everything under the sun. And my brother is somebody who I've been in conversation with about these things for as far as I can remember, especially since he became an actor and an established film personality as a movie star. Most of the time I spent with him by default was on his film sets. So, and we're both very passionate about this. I never had a moment where I decided I want to be an actor. As far as I can remember, this is what I've loved, dancing and acting. So, we've had discussions for years now, and it's mostly them talking because they're the ones with the experience. But it so happened that on this film, I went out there, I got the opportunity because I was an assistant on a film called Urtha Punjab, and Hani sir, who was the casting director of that film, knew me from that film set. And he called me in to audition for this part. And I did, and he selected me on the basis of that audition. And after that, it kind of set the tone, and I sort of was left very independent on this film. So my brother actually only visited the set once, and it was on the day of the Muhurat, on the first day of shoot. And we didn't have any discussions in context to this film at all, till we were done shooting the film.
Wow.
So, and my mother visited the set all of 2 times. She's somebody I'm very close to, but even she gave me a lot of space, because I think I sort of naturally wanted to isolate myself. The character I'm playing in this film is an orphan, and I think I needed to sort of isolate myself to be able to understand it a little better, and so I didn't actually end up talking to my mother or my brother about the film at all till we were done shooting it.
Malavika, like you said, the thing about how he makes, Mr. Majidi makes his films, the simplicity of it, the realistic. This, of course, is the story of a brother and a sister, if I'm correct, and their life. So, what were the learnings on the set of the film when you were? How much of the character did you need to internalize? Did you go about, or how did you go about preparing for it, if I can ask you?
Well, like you said, I've done work previously, but I've only done about 3-4 films in Malayalam. Not a lot, especially the number of films actors do there. This is nothing. So this is one of my first few films in a sense, because I'm still learning my craft. I'm still getting acquainted with even basic techniques like angles and voice modulation. So I'm still in a very, of course, you always learn, and I'll keep learning. But I'm still getting acquainted with it. So it was very, it was challenging for sure initially, because I came on board 10 to 15 days before the filming began. And we didn't have workshops or rehearsals, because Majidi sir wanted it to be very raw, very spontaneous.
Organic.
Very organic. So we didn't rehearse what we were going to do. So it was challenging initially because it's not like I'd mentally prepared as well, right? It's not like I signed the film 2-3 months prior, so I had time to spend with the script, with the dialogues, or even subconsciously. I think when you spend time with the script, subconsciously, I think your mind is constantly working on the character. And I didn't have that entire phase. But what I had was a brilliant script and a beautifully written character, and I wanted to give it my 100% and do complete justice to the character of Tara. So I just jumped right into it. The week that I had, I spent some time in Dhobi Ghat because that's where the girl's from. That's where she works. She's a Dhoban. So I went there. There was a lot of physical prep involved at the beginning of the shoot, and even in between the shoot, I had to lose a lot of weight, which is, we all know it's not easy to lose weight. The character had to look malnutrition. She had to look, like she was going through a tough phase. So that was a very important part of the prep, like a very important physical part of the prep. And emotionally, it was very challenging too. These are things I've never done before as an actor. It was a very new territory for me, a lot of things I did. But I think that's where the part of working with a director like him comes into play, because it's all him, I feel like I was just the medium through which he was expressing his craft and his genius. And he took me to creative spaces that as an actor I've never been to before. Like, I've done some scenes and I've just, right after he's called cut, I've just been like, I just went into this trance and I performed, and it was so new for me, but so creatively satisfying, so rewarding. So yes, a lot of prep went into it, but what an experience it's been.
Wonderful. Mr. Majidi, I want to know two things from you now. Will you tell us about the film a little in brief? The story of the film, a little. I know you don't want to give away, but I also know that the audience wants to know what is this film about. That is one. The other question is that you have some other very talented artists with you, Vishal Bharadwaj, A.R. Rahman doing the music, Gautam Ghosh I think has acted in it. So they are all veterans in the Indian film industry. Did you draw anything from their learnings, their presence on the set? Did it add to how you were going to express your craft?
در مورد سوال اول برای داستانی خواهر برادره.
Regarding to the first question, I can say briefly that it's a story about the brother and the sister who are facing some problems which make them grow up faster. So in a word, I can say it's a story about the resurrection of this brother and sister. Regarding to the second question, the presence of Mr. Ghosh in my film, as he's a really established director, it's an honor for me. And you know that he's an actor as well. I watched some of his works, and seeing his face, I saw that it's matching a lot to my character. This character is not a big character in the script, but it's a very important. And for my, dialect translator, Mr. Vishal, he has translated somehow my dialogues that he could, convey the emotion which were in the lines. I thank him. And about Rahman, he is very special for me. This is our second experience together. We worked in my previous film Prophet for 1 year together, and we have a very good co-understanding. We can understand each other very well. And I should say he's a very flexible person. He's a real artist. There were some times maybe the music he was composing was not exactly what we were looking for, but he was completely free to change it.
انسان خیلی مطالع و بزرگی هستش.
Ishaan, I want to ask you after, in fact this question is to both of you, so if both of you could answer separately. After a debut like this for you and a film like this for you, does it look like it's going to help you walk into other spheres of the industry, whether it's Bollywood or beyond of Indian cinema? Does this give you a kind of, I don't want to use the word passport, but a kind of leeway as actors to show yourself in front of other filmmakers and say that, okay, we've done this work. Do you think this is going to be a film that's going to take you to the, or make it easier for you as actors?
Well, I would say that we'll have to wait to see, what this holds in the future for us. But of the information that I have and of what I know, this is a film that's releasing worldwide, and and I think it has a universal language. It's a film that is not restricted to viewership in our country, but all over the world. Having said that, it is a Hindi language film predominantly. It's a multilingual film. It has a little bit of Tamil and some broken English in it, but the universality of the film is such that I really feel that people all over the world will be able to connect to it. And I would love to do films of this nature in the future as well. And if this film is releasing worldwide, I would assume that people, you know, all over will be able to watch it and hopefully connect to it. And it might mean that, but again, I don't know what's in store. I'm not a clairvoyant or a fortune teller, and I can't tell. But I only know that I would love to work in films all over the world as long as I have the opportunity.
Wonderful. And what about you, Malavika?
Well, my parents are Malayali, but I've grown up in Mumbai. So I've grown up watching everything from Malayali films to Hindi cinema to Hollywood films to a lot of different kinds of other films, Mandarin films, Iranian films. So, well, I think since a young age there's been a lot of interest in films. Like I never knew I wanted to be an actor until I did my first movie, which just happened to come to me. But after the film, I realized that I want to work with a lot of good artists anywhere and everywhere, you know. So yeah, work with good directors, good actors, good cinematographers in Malayalam, in Hindi, in all kinds of films. Collaborate with a lot of talented people. So of course I wish to do it well, but what comes our way depends completely on like what opportunities come our way depend on, you know, what happens. But
No, all the very best, and I'm sure you know great things will happen. To begin with, one wishes that this film does spectacularly well, and taking on from there, I'm sure there are more things waiting for two very bright young people that now the film industry has. Mr. Majidi, my last question to you. Is it true that you're planning to shoot in India again? One hears that you're planning to shoot in West Bengal this time for another project. So I would like you to tell me if that's true. That's one. And the other thing is, have you been watching or have you watched recently works of any Indian filmmakers? Do you have favorites? Have you liked anybody's work specifically?
Yes, that's true that I'm going to shoot my next film in West Bengal, and mostly it will be there. You know, I'm always interested in the stories here. For me here, India is full of stories. It's very dramatic. And I'm always asking myself that why we shouldn't see and why we don't see the life of these common people, the life of mass in Indian cinema. Through this, I'm going to make a bridge to your second question. You know, in the Indian cinema, we don't see this real life of people. Now, those cinema that we could see in Shyam Benegal film or in Satyajit Ray, but I can say cinema of today and Bollywood, technical-wise, are very developed. But on the other hand, from the artistic point of view, the presence of the realism of people in that, it's lacking it. I'm a little worried, you know, that if it continues like this, even for the industry, Bollywood industry, they will face in future audience crisis because they are repeating something continuously. And I hope that this people life would come in this industry in their films.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, strong statement there. We need more reality in our Bollywood films. But thank you so much, Mr. Majidi, for making it here. Thank you, Ishaan. Thank you, Malavika, for coming. And we wish, on behalf of HT and our viewers, that Beyond the Clouds does, you know, touches new highs, and look forward to the film. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you.